Arsenal's season could hinge on one player. But here's the thing, no one seems to know exactly where this guy fits in. Look, today we are diving into the huge question Arsenal have to answer if they want to go on to win the title. And spoiler alert, I think the way this guy will be used this season is going to shock so many people. Before we get into the video, you know the drill. My name is Jed. If you could help me out by hitting like. And I want to ask an even bigger favour. Look, I am so close to 10,000 subscribers. That is a number I could only have dreamt of when I first started making these videos. So please help a Gooner out. Help me get to 10,000 subscribers by hitting subscribe. So before we get into the video, I want to ask you a very simple question. What role do you see Kai Havertz playing at Arsenal this season? Because whether you like it or not, or I like it or not, this is a player that will be used so much this season. And the role he plays is crucial in Arsenal lifting the title. Look, Arteta loves this player. We've seen over the past couple of seasons, Arteta at times is hellbent in fitting this player in. We know what he was brought in for. He was brought in to be a midfielder. But he kind of plugged the gap in that striking position. And Arteta seems to like the role that he plays. And look, I'm a Havertz fan. I like what Havertz offers. And I think the way that he could be used this season could actually take Havertz to that next level. I think there's a role, an opportunity for Arsenal to really utilise some of his qualities and take the step up to try and break down what a lot of us know Arsenal have struggled with this season. So I want you to let me know, this season Havertz will be used. In what position do you think it will be? Let me know. So I think we have a unique opportunity with Havertz. I think, like I said, we had the conversation yesterday about Arsenal struggling to break down that low block. And like I said, Havertz was brought in as a midfielder. So will we see him deployed more in that central area? Because you would think, as a centre forward, he's going to struggle to get chances this season. Now, I don't doubt at times this season he will be played there. Gyokeres isn't going to be able to play every single game. But you would look at it and say, if we're playing any of the big teams, probably any of the top half, you want your best striker available. So in all of them games, you would imagine Gyokeres is going to be the guy to lead the line. You're not going to spend that much money on a player who comes with this reputation only to bench him for Havertz. I would be shocked if that happens, and I don't think it's going to happen. I do think Havertz is going to be used in the middle of the park where he was brought in for. Look, we had a discussion yesterday about Declan Rice, and a lot of people were saying, yes, he's very good in terms of defensive, but going forward, maybe he lacks the creativity. And is that the area where we could kind of unlock something different with Havertz? When teams are sitting deep, can we use Havertz as one of those attacking midfielders? Because we play 2-8s, but when we're kind of pressuring a team and they're sitting in that low block, the 2-8s are basically playing as 10s. They're attacking midfielders trying to penetrate. If Declan Rice is struggling, can you use Havertz in that position? And if we got Odegaard there and he's struggling, maybe if we do buy Eze, you use Eze in that position, then all of a sudden you've got a totally different front five to attack that low block. It could be totally different to the last couple of seasons where we've struggled. You could have Madueke on the left with his dribbling abilities. You could have Havertz in one of the 10s. You could have Eze in one of the 10s, Saka and Gyokeres. All of a sudden, you've got 4 different players attacking a low block. Now, I know we've used Havertz in a striking position in a low block, but maybe he can have something different. Maybe he does offer something different or unique as an attacking midfielder. Now, we've seen over the summer, he's put a lot of work in bulking up. I think there's a lot of fake pictures out there of Havertz bulking up to something crazy, but he's definitely been putting on some size over the summer. Could he be transforming into that midfield that Arteta had the vision for? Let me know if you think it could work. Because we've seen with players like, one that comes to mind is we just played against them. That is Joe Linton. You know, he used to be a striker and he kind of transformed into that central midfielder. Havertz was probably too lightweight to play in that central area. But like I said, he's been putting in the work to bulk up. Could we see a scenario where Havertz is playing a lot more in that central midfield role? And that is a position where he was brought in for. Arteta obviously had a vision when he brought in Havertz. You know, he kind of wanted him to play in that attacking 8 role and offer something different going forward. We kind of had some striking problems and Havertz was used as a striker. All of a sudden it worked and Havertz was the new striker. Gabriel Jesus got injured. Havertz took over the main role of being Arsenal's striker. But I think there is a unique chance for Havertz to do something special this season. Look, I will always look at it in a positive way. If you feel differently, let me know. People might say, I don't think Havertz is good enough to play that position. And it might just be a scenario where he's battling it out with Gyokeres to play in that centre-forward role. If that is the plan, then I think he's going to lose that battle the majority of the times. Because although Havertz does do so much, and it probably is unfair to judge him as just a centre-forward because he's not a traditional number 9, and Arteta, when he plays that position, doesn't use him as that. I'm sure Havertz could have got loads more goals last season and the season before, be an Arsenal striker, if he was asked to just be a number 9, stay in there and poach goals. But that was never Havertz's role. He was always asked to chase down every single ball. You start the press from the front. You drop in deep when we're defending. He wasn't asked to be a regular striker. That's why he was always holding the ball up, waiting for someone else to come, play him in, leading from the front, the press. Like, Havertz at times last season, if you remember, was carried off the pitch. And the commentators were saying, oh my God, Havertz is having to be carried off the pitch here. Is he carrying an injury? And a few times Arteta said, no, there's no injury there. He's just knackered. And that is the amount of work that is expected from that position when Havertz was playing it. So maybe he did get less goals than other centre-forwards because they was asked to play a totally different role. They wasn't as demanding of their centre-forward to say, no, you get involved in every single phase of play. When we're attacking, we expect you to be there. But when we're defending, you have to press from the front and then you have to drop in deep to do some more defensive work as well. And I think Havertz's goal return wasn't that bad. If you look in the league, for every 2 games, it was 1 goal. Now, that's not the level you need if you want to go on to have him as your primary centre-forward to win the league and win the Champions League. But like I said, he wasn't asked to do that. So, Gyökeres, I expect to be slightly more selfish at times. Now, there will be a requirement that Arteta puts on him to do some of the defensive work. It's not going to be, we've brought you for this money, you can do absolutely whatever you want, just score us goals. But I think he will be in more of those areas where you can get an easy goal. That's what I'm expecting from Gyökeres. He's that type of player. Now, he does like to run the channels. He does like to try and take a player on at times with his speed and his strength. But a lot of the times when we're pinning teams back, I just expect him to be in and around the 6-yard ball, waiting for it to break to him, and then having the shot. Gyökeres will get the shot away. So I want you to let me know, can you see a world where Havertz is deployed as more of that central midfielder? Or like I said, do you think he's just going to be battling with Gyökeres for that centre-forward role? I wanted to touch on Mikel Arteta because, again, I think there's been some unfair comments in my comment section. Look, the majority of people on this channel have said, oh, yeah, we back Arteta. Well done. I like your positive outlook. And there's been a lot of new subscribers over the past couple of days, over 1,000. So I want to say to you guys, thank you. I'm glad you're here. But the ones that are still in my comment section saying, oh, Arteta's had 7 years, he's done nothing. And I'm thinking, why are you misrepresenting it? If you don't want Arteta as the manager, fine, you're entitled to your opinion. But don't misrepresent what Arteta's done for this football club. We was in the abyss 5-6 years ago. I was looking at it saying, I can't see a world where we claw back into this because Man City were better than us. Liverpool were better than us. They was able to attract the better players. They were signing more players, spending more money, and we was already at the Champions League spot, so they was earning more money than us. So I was looking at it saying, I don't see a scenario. I don't see a gateway where Arteta can get this team back into a Champions League spot. Chelsea were better than us. Liverpool, Man City, other teams as well. Arsenal were rubbish when we had Kolasinac, Mustafi. Arteta took that team with that budget and took them into the Champions League. And now for the last 3 seasons, we've been challenging. And there's been progress every single season. So don't misrepresent what Arteta's been. Like I said, if you want a different manager, fine. But this isn't a manager who's failed over the past 5, 6, 7 years. This is a guy who's been continually moving this football club forward and making us an elite club again. And that's exactly how Arsenal are viewed. Even you guys are saying we're an elite club. We should be winning titles. Let me tell you something. We wasn't an elite club 5, 6, 7 years ago when Mikel Arteta took over. We was a rubbish club. No one took us seriously. Now look at us. Our academy's unbelievable again. We're challenging in the Premier League, in the Champions League. I would have dreamt of that 5 seasons ago. And this is the first season where I'm looking at Arteta. And this is the first one where you can judge him. Because we've never had the full structure, the full team where you're actually able to compete. Now last season and the season before, Arsenal fans, of course, we wanted us to win the league. But if you're looking at it, we didn't have the striker. There was questions about the defence. But now, if you look at Arsenal's team, there's 2 unbelievable players in every position. So let this be the season where you start judging Arteta. Let this be the season where you're giving Arteta a fair shake and saying, right, now you've got the team, now you've got the striker, you've got the wingers, you've got the midfield, you've got strength in depth in defence, and you've got 2 really good keepers. Let's see what you can do this season, Arteta. No pressure, by the way, because you've got us to this point. You've allowed us to start dreaming of titles again. You've allowed us to start dreaming of Champions League trophies. We could never have dreamt of this 5 years ago. We was just dreaming of trying to get back into the Champions League. We was dreaming of just being a top 4 team again. But now we're in a position where we're thinking, right, we could win the league. It's going to be us or Liverpool. That's what a lot of people are saying, us or Liverpool. So to the people saying Arteta has failed over the past 5 or 6 years, I'm just thinking that's not true. Like, he's never had the team to be able to compete. And if you can't remember, 3-4 years ago, what were the headlines in Sky News, Talk Sport? Everyone was saying this manager is ahead of schedule. He had a 5-phase plan, and after 2 years, we was already at phase 5. Like, people were saying Arteta is overachieving with this squad. Do you not remember them conversations, or do you just not care? Or do you just think, right, it doesn't really suit my argument, so I'm going to ignore it? Arsenal were way ahead of the schedule. And now this Arsenal team is in a position where we compete. Now we've got the striker. Now we've got the wingers that Arteta want. Would I like one more? Yeah, of course I would. I would like Eze. Would I like Rafael Leao? Yes, but this isn't FIFA. You can't spend 500 million in this window when you've already bought Declan Rice. You've already spent a fortune, because you like to say how Arteta spent all this money. Arteta spent all this money, then all of a sudden a window comes and you think, why haven't we signed Rodrigo and Rafael Leao? A serious football club would sign them and sign Gyokeres. And I'm thinking, are you playing FIFA or Football Manager? It's just not possible to sign these guys. Now, you can get one of them. We've already got Gyokeres. Could you maybe get 2 of them? Hopefully. I'm hoping we can get Eze. But we're not going to be able to sign Eze, Rodrigo and Leao in the last 3 weeks of the transfer window, or however long's left. Arteta is working miracles at this club. And I suggest, I'm not telling you, my opinion is, just get behind the player. Just get behind the manager. Get behind the football club. Let's create an atmosphere where these players aren't worried about the toxicity in the fan base, or, oh my God, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get rinsed on YouTube. No, you make a mistake, that's fine. That's part of football. Let's back this team. Let me know your thoughts on everything you've heard in this video. What's your thoughts on Havertz? What's your thoughts on Arsenal's chances of winning the league? Are you excited? Because I can't wait. I just want to get the season started. Like I said, thanks for watching. Before you go, if you could, hit like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.